and welcome back to the Audacious podcast, the show where we equip people to live a more fulfilling life here on this earth. I'm Talon Bowman, your host of the podcast, and I'm very excited for today's episode. We have two amazing guests on this one. I have with me here Kye Britt.
I'm not that amazing. I'm all right, but thanks for calling me amazing.
Of course, bro. I got you. You, man. We also have Cory Freeburn.
Yeah, I'm pretty bland. I don't get like a great intro or anything.
Oh my God.
It's fine.
Me and Cory are two saltine crackers.
It's okay.
You don't gotta hype yourself
look,
up more.
I'm happy to be here. All right, I'm happy to be here.
I'm happy to have y'all as well.
I feel honored to be here.
Yes. Today's episode is going to be a deeper one. As you know, this is week 3, actually, of our Help and Healing series. Today's episode is going to be focusing on how to overcome depression. Mm-hmm. We all know that it is easy to slide into depression, and depression sucks the joy out of life. Depression makes everything seem hopeless, and it's ultimately not where we want to be to live a fulfilling life. Yeah. So we're going to be talking about the problem of depression, understanding ways in which it is easy to slide into it, but then also combating it. What are the best ways to actually help ourselves get over that and get out of it? Very excited for today's episode. But before we do jump into that main topic, I do want to introduce my two guests a little bit better. So if you would, Cory, go ahead and tell us your major, your hometown, and your favorite cereal.
Oh, favorite cereal.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a cybersecurity major. I'm from a really small town just east of Charlotte called Locust. It's quite literally a 2-stop light, you blink, you miss it type of town. We have a golf course and a Walmart, and that's about it.
Let's go.
About all we need. Favorite cereal. I've always I grew up a Fruit Loops guy, so I gotta go Fruit Loops, 100%.
Okay, not a bad choice. Yeah. That's good.
That's pretty good.
It's good to have you on the podcast.
Dude, I'm happy to be here. Really.
Yes. And Kye, how about you? What is your major, hometown, and favorite soda?
Favorite soda? I don't drink soda. I'll start off with that.
Let's go. You and me both.
Come on.
Water, Powerade guy, milk, just the standard, I guess. So
yeah.
Nothing too crazy. I'm a supply chain management major and an accounting major, and I'm from Forsyth County, Georgia. So
that combo must be crazy.
What?
A supply chain and accounting.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, some people say that. I like studying both. I think I'll probably end up going into accounting once I graduate.
There you go. Come on.
Supply chain school, and the classes are decently easy, so they take some weight off the accounting classes.
For sure.
So,
come on, bro. It's good to have you on the podcast.
Yeah, happy to be here.
And we do have one more question. Of course, everyone is always expecting it. Kye, we'll start with you. Go ahead and tell us what your hottest take is.
I really don't like the lime-flavored Tostitos tortilla chips. They make me feel nauseous. So
it's not right. It's not okay.
What? I've never tried them. I've never had these.
I'm sure if they didn't make me feel nauseous, they would taste awesome and amazing, but they just make me feel nauseous. But that's with crazy. Anything like artificially lime-flavored.
Okay.
So I first
That's wild.
Unlocked this taste when I was coming back from lacrosse practice, and my dad gave me some lime-flavored sunflower seeds, and I was like getting ready to throw up. So
there are lime-flavored sunflower seeds?
Yeah, I had them once, and I didn't like them. So, and then it carried on over to the tortilla chips.
Cory, you seem offended by this.
Dude, lime tortilla chips are the best, 100%.
It's only the Tostitos. I'll eat like naturally flavored, like with a squeeze of lime on top of it, but like the artificially lime flavored ones, just like they give me the heebie-jeebies a little bit, you know?
Okay.
Yeah.
Never had them. Like I usually stay completely away from flavored chips.
Okay, yeah.
Give me like sea salt and plain, and that's all it is.
Yeah, there you go. Good stuff.
That is wild. How about you, Cory? What is your hottest take?
The original Oreos are the worst Oreos. 100%.
What?
They're not like bad. They're still tolerable and fine, but they're just not the best Oreos.
Which one is better?
Dude, mint, 100%.
Whoa. Okay.
100%.
Okay.
100%.
That was the first part wasn't the hot take. It was the mint Oreos that was the hot take. So
the mint Oreos and even the mint thins are fantastic. 100%. They're so good.
Do you like mint chocolate chip ice cream?
I love it.
Wow.
That's probably why.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's probably the small town. They don't have a lot of ice cream out there.
Must be it.
Amen.
Must be it. You just default to mint, and then you grow a taste bud for it.
I guess.
I cannot handle mint and chocolate.
At all?
At all, no.
Man, come on.
They're good separate. I'm fine with them separate.
They just don't blend to you.
Yeah, they don't blend.
Okay.
The mint always overpowers the chocolate for me.
Talon's taste buds are going south. The lime flavored tortilla chips.
The mint chocolate.
And then chocolate. He doesn't know what to do.
Are you like a
himself.
chocolate vanilla ice cream tops guy? Nothing special?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that
Vanilla cinnamon is the best milkshake flavor I've had.
Never had that.
coming. Where did you get that from?
There's this like ice cream milkshake local chain around the Tennessee area called Maggie Moo's.
Okay.
They have very special flavors such as red velvet cake milkshakes, vanilla cinnamon milkshakes. So cinnamon and chocolate, cinnamon and vanilla, yes, 100%. Mint, no.
Man.
Keep that away from me.
People
bro.
be hating on mint too much, you know that? They hate too much on it. It's so good.
Cory, would you say you would be depressed if you didn't have these mint Oreos?
Dude, I don't have them right now in my dorm. Like, I don't have any. So,
Okay.
we're leaning that way, you know? We're headed that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's crazy. Speaking of depression,
Yeah.
Crazy.
Crazy.
I can't believe that. What a segue.
What a segue. Man, you might as well just take my position. Let's be honest here.
No, you're the goat, dude. You know you're the goat.
But yes, transitioning into the topic of this episode,
Mm-hmm.
depression. Huge mood switch here, but it's really important to talk about this.
Mhm.
A lot of people won't want to talk about this because it's a heavy subject. It's a hard subject, but it needs to be talked about.
Mhm.
I was doing a little bit of research before this episode, and I don't know if I even want to trust the statistics that I was like pulling up for like what percentage of college students struggle with depression. Because like one study I found that was done in 2021, 2022 said that 44% of college students struggle with it in some way.
Yeah.
And that's almost 1 out of every 2.
Yeah.
I don't know what location that study was done in. I would like to think it's not accurate, but it might be. That's the scary part. And I think a huge part of that is it's so easy to fall into depression. And once you fall into it, it's hard to get out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
which is why so many people are stuck there.
Uh-huh.
So opening it up, let's diagnose the problem. Why is it so easy to fall into the state of depression to where you have no hope and no joy in life?
I think depression can look a little bit different, just like situationally and circumstantially. Like I would say, I could confidently say that I was in a state of like probably mild depression probably a year and a half ago. Just had a lot on my plate and taking a lot of classes at school and just a bunch of other things going on. And until I literally stopped moving, and I remember it very vividly, all my roommates were gone. It was just me at the house. It had been like the first time I'd been by myself in like 2 months, and I sat there. I'm like, holy crap! Like I think I'm like a little bit depressed, and like I was just like so like sad. It almost like it hit me like a truck, and I was like, dang! I was like, how did I let it get to this point? Because I didn't realize it. Like I was just firing on all cylinders, and I just it sweeps in and gets you, and it just swoops in, and you don't see it, but and it's killer. It hurts. It hurts a lot. And people sometimes don't even realize they have it. They're just like man, like I'm super sad. Like I don't know what to do. But yeah, that's kind of where mine is originated from. Kind of where it's swooped in. It's different for everyone.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I kind of forgot what the question was, but I hope that kind of answered it.
Yeah, no, kind of piggybacking off of that. I think a lot of times it kind of starts that initial like loneliness, sadness feeling, but whenever no one talks about it, whenever you just bottle everything up, it just festers and it becomes such a bigger and deeper problem. Freshman year of high school, I dealt with some depression, and like it was a situation of I had no one that I talked to about any of this, and it just kind of built up. Coming to college, I was looking for that fresh start that everyone hopes for, right? And first like month of college was amazing. It was great. And then it hit me like a truck. And we're right back worse than we were before. But I didn't know what was really going on. I didn't vocalize it, didn't tell anyone about it. And it wasn't until somebody like literally had to pull it out of me of what I was dealing with that it hit me like, hey, I'm dealing with depression. Like I'm dealing with something so much deeper than I thought it was because I've never talked about it. And so I think that causes a lot of it to even be worse than it was initially is whenever the people just bottle it up and don't know how to express their feelings and what's actually going on.
Yeah. Not expressing it, not realizing it. And that's why it can start so easily is because we can almost rationalize like when it's starting that we're not actually depressed, we're not there.
Yeah.
For me, and this is true for a lot of people as well, it can definitely start when you feel powerless in a situation.
Sure.
That was my testimony with it, especially over the COVID pandemic, graduating year of high school for me. And I was going to go into UNC Charlotte, which is the original college I went to before I transferred to AU.
Yeah.
So high school graduation canceled because of COVID.
Yeah.
UNC Charlotte, all online classes, all virtual.
So tough.
So for me, I was in a place where everything I was doing was online and at home.
Yeah.
And I felt powerless to do anything against it, and I hated it. And that led me down a time, like a year or two of depression. And that was a hard season because I didn't even realize it up until someone said after I was out of that season that I was depressed back then. It was like, looking back on it, I was.
Yeah.
But in the season of it, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have anything to compare it to.
For sure.
And when you're in that, and when you're caught out of it and you diagnose it, you can't just stay there. That's the main thing. When you stay there and accept it, it will continue to get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
But why is getting out of it so hard?
I think a lot of it, from what I see and the people who I've talked to have dealt with it, along with my own testimony, it's just hard to want to vocalize that because in my eyes, I saw that as like weakness in my life that I didn't want people to have to see. I wanted them to think I had everything together type of thing. And then you start to kind of realize that no one has it together. Like it's just everyone deals with their own things in different ways. But in that moment, in that time, I'm just not wanting to admit that, hey, I have something going on in my life. And from what I can tell with other people who have dealt with similar issues, it's the same thing of not wanting to admit that there is a problem because you're hoping it just kind of goes away in the background and you don't want to have to bring it to the forefront and make people, acknowledge it. Yep. You don't want to not acknowledge it at all. So I think that kind of leads to not being able to get the help that you need easily at first.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think for me, it was because I truly, truly thought the spot that I was in, I was like, okay, hey, I'm just like, I got to be nitty gritty, like just push through a little bit. And like a lot of it just had to do with circumstances. Like at the time I'd really, really dove super hard into a business that I had and was really just firing on all cylinders and just like, I had a huge load and I was like, okay, hey, I gotta grind this out a little bit. And it was really, really like when I look back at it, a lot of it had to do with, I was like, I'm just trying to almost satisfy my flesh and what I think is going to be the best thing. And I was very much chasing after like, okay, hey, how much money can I make from this? Like if I really, really grind, like, hey, this is like whatever. A college student doesn't usually make this amount of money. Like how can I really, really set myself for success? How can I pay for my college and be able to do other things? And like a lot of it was just like I was making really, really unrealistic goals within it. And when I was chasing out those goals, I really wasn't doing it for God. And it was rather for myself. And so I think as soon as I kind of went down that track, it immediately started because you could just see the path split. And I went one way and I should have been going the other way with God. And it was really tough because then as soon as that started, everything else kind of filed in with like, okay, you're going your way. You got to do some other things to go your way as well. And so that came with like, okay, am I really intentionally spending my time in like my quiet time, or am I just like doing checklists going off and like just trying to check through things? And it happened with a lot of things in which I was truly biblically like and just strongly rooted in Christ prior, but I really, really, really was chasing after what I thought was awesome and great. In reality, it was just very shallowly rooted. And it falls apart, and it was never rooted as deep into God as I thought it might have been. And I think, quite frankly, it was probably an excuse as well. I can very much like glorify God in this and really do all these things, but like in reality, like I think that was just an excuse. I wasn't really even pointing in that direction, but yeah, that's it's just you keep digging deeper with it, and until you realize it, you just keep on digging deeper because that's just your mindset and it's a habit that you keep on going with. So, but that's kind of how I rolled with it for a while. Yeah. So,
and the danger there is you're going to keep digging deeper until you realize and admit that you need help.
No, for sure. Yeah.
And even when you admit it, you can admit it, but not pursue help and ask for help. That's the other step that you need to take because there's this mindset. Both of y'all talked about it. Like there's almost this mindset when we're in a problem, be it depression or anxiety or anything else, that we just need to push through it, that we do it out of our own strength. But none of us are able to do that. No man is an island. God has placed us in a community because we need other people. We need help, and we need his help too. We need to be vulnerable with him because God doesn't want us in a place of depression. You know,
Heck no.
the Bible doesn't say too much about depression, as in define depression, right? That very word doesn't appear much in the Bible, but it does talk a lot about, you know, not losing hope, being joyful in the Lord.
Yeah.
And depression is completely against those two things.
For sure.
So, any thoughts there?
Yeah. Like I think the first thing that comes to my mind when like you were talking about like the joy and like gratitude and stuff like that, like all good and perfect things come from God. Everything we can be thankful for and gratitude, like be gracious for, like comes from God. And I think when our fleshly desires start to come in, like, are those truly good for ourselves and good for our relationship with God? Like, I could confidently say, like, all the things that, like, my flesh desires are in the opposite direction as to what God desires for me. And so I think when we dive into the being joyful and gracious and trying to do all those things, you have to really, really check yourself and be like, okay, hey, is what I'm diving into truly centered around God? Is this joy coming from God, or is this me satisfying my flesh? Because the thing is, like, that flesh, it just needs to continually be satisfied, and so you go deeper, 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 and just continue to push it because you don't ever get satisfied with it, and you always want more. And that's kind of the race that I was running with it. I was like, wow, man. I was like, I could really dive deep with this, but the deeper I dove, the worse it got. And so, and there was no true joy in it. There never was, and there was never going to be. Very important. There was never going to be true joy in it. And I think realistically, just continuing to talk it out is just realizing, dang, I really was in a bad spot. And it sucks to realize it now, but you live and learn with that. And I hope that other people can learn from my mistakes and the paths that I've traveled, and I hope they don't have to travel them as well, because they sure do stink. So yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we have to be active in checking in on ourselves, realigning ourselves with God, and seeing our situation for what it is. Examining ourselves, examining our heart, examining if we are putting our effort and attention is actually beneficial, is the place where God wants us to be. And the same is true for depression, right? Getting over depression, overcoming depression is not going to be an overnight thing. It's not. It is going to be a slow and hard process that we need to continue to be intentional with. We can't do it fully out of our own strength. We need God's help. We need other people's help. But it's going to be slow, intensive, and take effort. We can't be passive about it at any point, because then we'll backslide.
Heck no.
Very hard. So community, we've talked about it before, how we have community around us that God has placed in our life. How can community truly help us overcome depression?
I was thinking about that a little bit earlier today, knowing we were coming into this podcast. And the big thing that kind of hit me was something that was said freshman year here at AU. I can't remember if it was BCM or Chapel. But it's one of the things said about community and how, like, you can have all these friends and people who you know, but only about 2% of those people will probably ever know your whole story and what actually goes on in your life. And if you don't have that 2%, you're going to struggle a lot more because people don't know what's actually going on. And so I started thinking back and kind of reflecting on in high school when I dealt with depression and stuff, and realizing, like, I had all these friends and stuff that I was super close with. We'd hang out, play games, whatever. But no one knew what I actually dealt with on the inside. It was very much a service level friendship. And then seeing the difference with, like, the community here at AU and the friendships I've made, and how I realized that you need that deeper level is huge. And seeing how once someone knows what you actually what's going on in your life, they can actually help you with that. Like, they actually can support you. They know how to support you, how to encourage you. And that's huge to have someone pushing you in the right direction whenever we get off track and don't have the right mindset. Kind of that mental reset of, hey, you're not living in a Christ-like manner, or whatever it may be that's leading to this depression. And having them kind of hit you with that reset button really quick is huge.
Yeah, for sure.
I vividly remember, like, first talking about, like, hey, I think I'm kind of depressed, and, like, I'm talking about it with my my roommate a little bit. I was like, hey, bro, like, I think I'm depressed. And, like, that, as soon as that door opened, as soon as it opened, it was like, it almost felt like a little bit of a refresh, but it was just the start of it. And it was so weird to talk about it. Like, I remember I talked to my girlfriend at the time, and she had come up one weekend to hang out, or like came up for church or something like that. And we got dinner after, or not, lunch after. And I remember sitting down, I was like, hey, like, I think I'm depressed. And like went on a walk and talked about it. I was like, wow, I really, really am. The more I talked about it, I was like, I really am. Like, there's not a true speck of joy that is like really in my heart at the moment. And like, it was all just me chasing after everything. And it was tough for a while, because as soon as I realized I was depressed and the root of it and like my fleshly desires, like I stopped chasing those fleshly desires. And that's when I felt like probably the most depressed, because I was like, okay, nothing's filling up this cup. Like, but with that, it was just such a great opportunity to run to God in that. But like, community was so huge. It's like, first talking to my roommate about it, hey bro, I'm pretty not in a good spot right now. And like understand like, okay, what is community like in this? Like, what does accountability look like in this? Like just asking like questions on a daily basis, like, okay, hey bro, like, how are you feeling today? And trying to get yourself out and moving and doing things that you weren't doing like during your state of like depression, getting out and doing different things. And so like, I remember probably right as like I realized I was depressed, I was like, okay, like I got to change my routine up a little bit. Like, let me get outside and like literally enjoy like nature, like, and just like going around, going a walk, and just understanding and having like gratitude is like, okay, hey, like the God that has created me has created everything that I see in just this small little circle. Like, there's so much to be grateful for and so much joy to be like had within all these small things out here. He has such a bigger plan for me, and like depression isn't a part of it. And like just trying to pick that up and run after it and go after it, and just dive into what like God had for all of that. And so it's crazy just that turnaround like that. But like, to look back and think like, okay, why did I ever even get to that state? And like, how do I like then not go back into that state again? And so as that I kind of grew with like accountability and community more in like depression in itself, came different accountability questions, like after a few weeks of like, hey bro, like, how can we prevent this from happening again? How can we grow from this? What does it look like to have like gratitude now? Like, how can you find joy in like understanding that you even had depression, you know? And like understanding like, okay, like I've been given this opportunity to leave this state of depression and have found so much more joy in it. Like, how do I grow from that and just continue to dive into community with that and dive into accountability with that? So, and it's just a little snowball effect. And so it keeps going and going and going. And so, and whatever, I'm as happy as can be now. So thank God for that. Yes. So, yeah.
That's so encouraging.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We shouldn't run from community.
Heck no.
We can be often scared about being vulnerable with people because we'll make excuse after excuse. You know, I don't want to burden them with my problems. I feel like I would be a hamper on their life if I share, which is not true.
No.
Because true community and true friends want to hear about your life. They want to be there for you. And you do have to be intentional to make sure that surface level friendship does go deeper, like you were talking about, Cory. I was right in that situation where all the friendships I had were very surface level. We hung out a lot, but we never talked about life. Man, we never were real with our conversations. So it's just being intentional, being vulnerable.
Yes.
We have to put away pride. We have to be humble about it. But it's so healthy.
For sure.
And it's so helpful.
Well, and there's so much freedom and vulnerability as well. As terrifying as it is, I mean, I can remember just freshman year sitting in my dorm and like going through this, and it was quite literally I got up, went to class, got lunch, came back to my dorm and didn't leave again. Like, I didn't want to be around anyone. And at the time, my roommate, he was not here. He had dropped out at that point. So it was just me in a doubles room, and the one guy across the hall, just for some odd reason, knew something was off, that something was different, and just started hounding me with questions, one after the other about, hey, what's going on? Like, let's talk about it. And there's this one day that I just broke. And I just told him everything going on in my life.
Wow.
And it was the craziest thing because all of a sudden I felt a sense of freedom from that. Of just like I actually vocalized what was going on.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like he ran away scared and was like, I'm never talking to this guy again. He loved me through that in a Christ-like way and helped me build up off of that.
For sure.
And then ended up dragging me to a BCM on a Thursday night. And I wanted to just kick and scream and not go there because I'm like, this is not what I need. But man, was it what I needed.
For sure.
And it was just the whole situation just changed. And all of a sudden I had people behind me who were encouraging me, pushing into me. They were in my corner for once.
Yeah.
And there's just such freedom in that and being vulnerable and open about these types of situations.
Yeah. It's just a complete side note, but during that time, me and Cory were almost roommates.
We were.
Really?
It was crazy,
Wow.
man.
We're not going to go down that route.
No, that's a whole other episode in
happened, but
itself.
That's crazy. I as soon as you started talking, I was like, wow. I was like, literally like that time, like we would have been roommates. So,
That's wild. No, that's so powerful. And that's so encouraging to hear that the actions of your sweet mate there just made that such a powerful impact on your life. And for the better, too. That's so
Absolutely.
good. Yes. Yeah, I do want to go ahead and shift gears a little bit. I want to touch back on what you were talking about, Kye, about gratitude and being joyful in life. It's hard for us to understand that when we are depressed. If people say, oh, find something to be joyful about, find gratitude. Because when you're depressed, you can very, very much struggle with finding that beam of light on your life. And it ties back to focus. I've talked about this before on the podcast. But I'll also remember this conversation I had between me and a friend. We were just talking about thought life, things that were going on. And he just briefly brought up in mid-sentence like, oh, yeah, well, you can't really control your thoughts. And I just sat back and I'm like, hold up. No, but you can. Yeah. No, but you can, right? Because we have a will over our minds to be able to control what we're thinking. Yes. It's hard. It takes intentionality. It takes repetition, but we can choose to focus on things that we think about.
For sure.
So in that sense, how does gratitude and focusing on what's good in our life help us get out of depression?
So I think the best way to tackle this is understanding that when you're depressed, you are feeding yourself negative thoughts all the time. So with that, you have to combat it. And it's a fight for your life. It truly is. You got to dig deep. You got to really, really put a lot of effort into it. But like, you can be very, very thankful in a lot of things in like a lot of different ways. Or something I've like noticed or like done in the past is like, okay, like, hey, what does a gratitude journal look like? And some guys that like I disciple, like if they're in a bad spot, we walk through something like this. I'm like, hey, bro, okay, let's write down 5 things every single day that you are very, very much thankful for. And even if it is tough and difficult to figure out what you're thankful for, you got to sit there and write those things down before you can go do anything else. And it can be after your quiet time or before, or like while you're brushing your teeth, you like write it on your mirror on like an expo marker, and like so you can visualize it throughout the day. But like just understand what you're thankful for. And like I think a prime example of this, like in my like current state of life, I'm just really last couple of months been a little tough. My parents started going through divorce, broke up with my girlfriend, stuff like that. But like I'm a happy guy, and like it started with like doing some gratitude things like that. And like I'll have people ask me like, hey, like why are you so happy? I'm just like, dude, I got breath in my lungs. I was like, be thankful for that. Like I get to wake up and see another day. I'd love to go into heaven, but there's still souls to be saved on this earth, and I have an opportunity to do that. And I got breath in my lungs to do it. So, but it starts with gratitude, man. You gotta reinvent your thoughts and reinvent them in a good way. Because once you can do that and you trick your brain, trick your brain and rewire it to think good things all the time, man, like you can enjoy life to its fullest. You truly can. And you can enjoy what God has designed it for as well. So,
That's great.
Man, you really hit all of that there.
You really did. That was amazing.
Oh, thank you.
That's crazy.
See, this is why I called you amazing at the start of the podcast.
Exactly. Like, that's why you had the introduction.
Maybe I'm a saltine cracker with a little salt on it, not just a stale one. Maybe not amazing yet, though. So.
All right.
You're not the mint Oreo yet. It's okay.
Yeah. I'm normal Oreo. Yeah. They're better than mint.
No, they're not.
Yeah. But yeah, gratitude snowballs.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. At the start, it's going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be difficult. It might just be a couple of things that you can think of, and very basic things.
Yeah,
But as you continue to practice it, it becomes like a muscle.
for sure.
You will continue to find more and more things to be joyful over.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that sounds cheesy, and I know that sometimes people will think, oh, is that really how you defeat depression? But
Yeah.
it does help. It really does. Something that really does also help with overcoming depression, getting out of that state. We've touched upon this a little bit. We've dabbled into it, is our relationship with God
Amen.
and worshiping Him, being devoted to Him.
Mm-hmm.
Practically speaking, how can that help us get out of depression?
Yeah, I mean, every good and perfect thing comes from God.
Yeah.
And if you don't like truly relate all these good and perfect things back to God, you will relate it to yourself, and you'll continue to go down the whole depression. And like being grateful that God is like giving you those things also like streamlines like with like worshiping Him on a daily basis. And like that's different for every single person. And like when you start it, like maybe it's just like 10 minutes a day where you're diving into the Word and some scripture and stuff. But like for me, like as it grows, like I'm up in the morning, like hour a day, reading through my Bible, reading through a book, and like God is like constantly on my mind. But like I can confidently say that like it's definitely not been that in the past. Like when I was depressed, like maybe like 10 minutes, and like it wasn't even the quality 10 minutes. It was a really, like, I hate to say it, like just a crappy 10 minutes, because like I mean, thankfully my discipline was just so strong in there that I could do it, but like the heart and intentionality wasn't there. And it was I don't know, it was a tough one. But I think understanding that the root, like, of all good and perfect things come from God, and you can get that root down, then man, like you're doing great. Like you can thrive really, really well. So that's how I kind of look at it, and how I've looked at it for a while. So,
Well, and I think there is a noticeable difference if you are consistent. There it is, in the Word and in faith in general with God and your relationship. I know that if there's a day that I miss, like my quiet time, or if I just kind of am off for a day, I can feel a difference. Like I look back and I go, something's off today.
for sure.
I know everyone's probably a little bit different, so some people maybe don't feel that as much. But by being consistent, like you're saying, with being disciplined in that way, it makes a huge difference. I mean, we are creatures of habit, without a doubt. And by having that habit built up, it's going to help you in the long run I mean, it changes your whole mentality on life and your lookout if you're looking at things through a Christian lens consistently.
Yeah.
So I think that's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Bible is bread and water to our souls.
Absolutely.
So, of course, the Spirit of the Holy Ghost is alive in us. So, of course, when we nourish it by spending time with God, in relationship with God, reading the Word, it is going to fulfill us to a higher degree. It is actually going to bring life back into our situation.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful to see. It's so good to see.
Yeah.
And sometimes that looks like intentionality, a relationship with God and Jesus. And that also does look like our relationship with the community around us.
Yes.
Sure. Let's take this to like a fellowship aspect, right? Generosity, service can be so powerful.
For sure.
And why would you encourage someone to maybe serve in a way they haven't done before, go out and be generous in a way they haven't done before? How would that help in this situation of overcoming depression?
I think getting to be the hands and feet of Jesus and show people love like they've never been loved before is something that can be life-changing for them. But like understanding like that love is not coming from you, but it's coming from God, can absolutely like change you like drastically. It really, really can. And like that looks different for a lot of different people. Maybe it's like just like complimenting someone or smiling at someone, or like it's holding the door open for someone, or serving somewhere, volunteering somewhere. But like in just honestly like sharing like the love of God that God is so graciously like given to us, and like He like loved us first, and He'll love us like more than we can ever imagine. And He loves Talon more than I can ever love him. He loves Cory more than I can ever love him. And I mean, I can only imagine what that is like. And I'm so excited to be able to experience that one day. But the best way in which we can love people is by sharing them or sharing the good news and like diving into that with them. And like when you get to like expose someone to the water and bread of life, like it's legit. It's life changing. And like they're like, whatever, they're probably in a state of depression. They've probably have been for a very long time. They just didn't know it. Like just trying to find like their joy and gratitude and all things that will just continue to fail and lead to another like dead end. And they're just chasing. And that's why you see people just chasing all their life. Some people that I serve and volunteer with in the homeless community in Anderson, like people are 60 years old, like they're out there still doing some hardcore drugs, still like a bunch of other things. And like, it doesn't end. Like just because you're older, it doesn't mean you're wiser, truthfully. And like, it's just, I don't know, you can really, really waste your life on a lot of different things. But like the only thing that's going to reign above all those things is like finding the love in Jesus. And so being able to show love through that and loving other people like that is also healing like to yourself and like being able to worship God in that way. So but go and be the hands and feet of Jesus if you can, because it's really is life changing and being able to love someone like that. So yeah.
Being in different areas of service and of generosity, like every area is going to look different, right? You can go serve in the community like you do with the homeless people here in Anderson and helping them. You can be generous in charity donations, tithing, all the stuff that you can do financially. I think for me, it's really hard to go through like the financial side of like generosity because you don't see the direct impact always with that. And so it's kind of like I do this out of habit and out of I know I'm told to tithe, like I know all of those things. But I think by getting involved in a different area, by then going out into the community, it kind of gives you a different perspective on that as well, and the difference that makes, the impact that can have on other people's lives. Like you're saying, I mean, it is life-changing, even whenever you don't see their lives changing instantly because you went out there, but just knowing that even if you just planted that seed, God can make something grow from it. It doesn't matter where it's at. And I think knowing that and believing that is huge in our own lives as well, and seeing how that can impact us. So I know that was kind of pretty similar to what you said, but it's kind of the way that I process that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure.
And that looks different for everyone. Like for me, like that's going and volunteer. Like for Cory, like he runs audio visual at BCM, and like he's literally like providing people like a better way to worship and being able to worship God. And like that's just like whatever. That's what is best for like he does best, and he's amazing at it. And that's like something he's super good at it. I'm hyping him up right now because he deserves it. But like it's like before we were even doing this podcast, Cory fixed all the mic stuff.
Yeah,
like,
come on, for real.
Come on.
Yeah, and let's be honest here, Cory thought of this, clipping the cords from the ceiling to the mic stands.
Come on now.
Literally the genius here.
Yeah, and so it looks different for everyone, guys. And maybe it's just literally talking to someone that like people normally don't talk to. It's like talking to the weird kid in class, and like whatever, our parents may have said that when we were younger, like, hey, like just talk to the weird kid, like don't be mean to him. But like truthfully, like that might be the only conversation they have during that day, or it's smiling at someone, it's waving at someone. And it's going the extra mile. It's doing things that people normally don't do. And like, even when you do things that people normally don't do, they're like, okay, like this guy's different for some reason. What's different about him? Like, I want to know that. And it's going back to love. So, and loving as Jesus did. So never going to be able to love as much as he did, but I'll try my best, I guess. So, but
Yes. Because devotion and then service and fellowship, they go hand in hand.
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
are so linked together.
Yeah.
You know, for me, the Bible talks a lot about sleepers versus those who are awake. You know, non-believers, those who haven't heard the gospel, are asleep as they're going through the motions. For me, even though I was saved from very young, I like accepted Christ when I was 5 years old. I would say when I was in that state of depression, I was very much asleep.
For sure.
I was just going through the motions. Life did not have any purpose or meaning behind it. Every day was just like the last. And then I don't know how it happened, but I started spending a little bit of time, like you were saying, the 10-minute devotion in the morning, spending more time with the Lord. And that led to ideas and like thoughts that he was planning on my heart to spread the gospel, to evangelize to a friend who I thought was unsaved, to be generous. And that continued to lead into this place where he opened my eyes. I was no longer asleep. He opened my eyes to all of this hidden sin that was distracting me and destroying my relationship between God and me and between everyone else around me, right? He opened my eyes to that. And it was so shocking at first. It was world-changing, and it took me a very long time to accept that. But he opened my eyes. Spending that devotion with him, that intentionality, wakes you from your sleep.
No, for sure.
Yeah. And I'd like to encourage everyone listening to this, we know how rough depression is because all three of us here have lived through it to some degree. But take encouragement because thank the Lord that all three of us have these testimonies of how Jesus has brought us out of depression.
Yeah.
Right? It is possible through Jesus.
So possible, man.
It is more than possible.
Yeah.
So if anything, take away the encouragement that as you draw nearer to Jesus, as you draw nearer to God, he's going to help you. He's going to send people in your life that can help you. He's going to open your eyes to things you didn't see before. And as you continue to pursue him, you will be able to recognize his presence more and more and feel it more and more and see the goodness in life more and more.
Well, and I think one of the coolest things, too, is even whenever you're in those deep valleys, whenever you get pulled out of it in the end, whenever God takes you out of that and you can kind of look back and see how far that he pulled you from, it's beautiful to look at.
No, for sure.
To reflect on that.
Yeah, and I think it just shows how, powerful God is. And to know that, hey, I'm just, one, itty-bitty story that he so graciously decided to save me. Don't know why, don't deserve it, never will. But life change is possible for every single person that has ever walked this earth. And God loves them more than we can ever imagine. But definitely it starts with gratitude, starts with that accountability community. Don't be afraid, guys, truly. Dive into it, dive deep, and you just go hard because you won't regret it, and you won't regret worshiping God in that way. Because the thing, he wants you to be happy. You, you're not, you're not supposed to be in that state. We've just gone off track a little bit, but it's so easy to get back on track because God is so strong and powerful. So lean into that and dive into it. So,
yeah. And it's not supposed to be normalized.
Yeah.
Right.
No. Exactly. No. Yeah. I think today's world very much normalizes it, and people often make jokes about it. And quite frankly, you can very much say the same thing about anxiety, stress, depression, and a lot of sins are just normalized today. We can go on and on and on about it, but depression is not normal. If you think if you are in a group of people that think depression is normal, you gotta place yourself in a different group. Find some community. Find a local church. Get plugged in. I can go on and on and on about it, but it all relates back to Jesus. So get plugged in with Jesus, and So
yep, he will bring you into what is true and good and normal according to his word.
Absolutely.
Yes. Kye, Cory, I think that about wraps it up. That's all we have for this episode. Thank y'all so much for joining me on today's episode.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thanks, dude.
And before we do completely close it down, I do want to open the floor and ask, what's one piece of encouragement or advice that you'd like to leave the listeners with for the week ahead?
I think the biggest thing I can say, no matter if you're in a state of depression or not, but to find good community and have your 2%, like I kind of mentioned at the beginning, have those people in your life that you kind of tell it all to, that they know what's truly going on, what you're dealing with. Because by having that and looking at how I didn't have that earlier in life and in high school and stuff, and the difference it makes having that now is huge. Just the amount of freedom and the amount of trust and love that you can see through that by having kind of your 2%, if you will, but having those people who do know everything is huge. Yeah. Even though it's scary at first, it's worth it without a doubt.
Yeah, for sure. I think I'll probably list off a few things. The first thing I can think of is really, really encourage if you are in a state of depression, and even just make this a daily habit, truly start a gratitude journal where you just write down 5 things that you're thankful for that day, and it'll it'll shape you up real quick and understand like, gosh, I really am like thankful. Like I really do have a lot of different things that I've been blessed with. And I think that's finding community, diving deep with accountability, and don't be afraid, guys. Really, really don't, because you'll be, do it earlier rather than later, because you'll be very much grateful for it. Depression is not normal, and just be thankful for everything that you have. So, yeah.
Well put. Well said. Again, boys, thank you so much for joining me on today's episode.
Thank you so much.
This has been great. And as always, I'm your host, Tom Bomey, hoping you have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will catch you next time with week 4 of the Help and Healing series. See you later. Bye-bye.